Ever get that nagging feeling that maybe there's a secret playbook for money? You've done the things you're supposed to do, study hard, get the job.
Right, followed the conventional wisdom.
Exactly. But then you see other people, and it feels like they're playing a different game,
Hmm.
building wealth in ways that just seem out of reach.
Yeah, can be confusing, maybe even a bit frustrating.
Well, if that sounds familiar, you're definitely in the right place today. We're doing a deep dive into a book that really shook things up for a lot of people. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
That's right. And we're not just, skimming the reviews. We're going straight into the book itself, pulling out the core ideas that made it such a phenomenon and, frankly, got so many people rethinking their whole approach to finances.
And Kiyosaki's own story is, well, it's pretty central to this. He talks about having two dads, basically.
Two father figures, yeah.
One was his actual father, highly educated, a superintendent, but always seemed to be struggling with money. That's the poor dad.
Hmm.
And the other was his friend's dad, less formal education, but a really savvy businessman who became wealthy, the rich dad.
And that contrast, that's not just background fluff. It's really the engine driving the book's main lessons.
Absolutely. It's like he uses his own life
Yeah.
to make us question what we believe about money.
Exactly. So our mission here for this deep dive is to pull out the really crucial, actionable stuff from Kiyosaki's experience. We want to give you a sort of fresh perspective, maybe spark a few of those aha moments that could help you, start building wealth no matter where you're starting from today.
Okay, let's dive right into that core contrast then. The poor dad versus the rich dad. What were the big differences in their advice, their whole mindset about money?
Well, it really starts at a fundamental belief level. The poor dad, the academic one, he was all about the traditional route.
The safe
The
route.
safe route, exactly. Study hard, get good grades, find a secure job with benefits.
Hmm.
He valued that stability, a steady paycheck, maybe a pension plan down the line. And he'd say things apparently like, I'm not interested in money or money doesn't matter, which, looking back, maybe suggests, well, maybe a discomfort or a way to cope with his own financial situation.
Yeah, that makes sense, which is pretty much the polar opposite of the rich dad, right? He seemed to fully embrace the idea of money.
Totally. The witch dad was coming from a completely different place. His whole focus was on, first, understanding how money actually works, and then the big one, making your money work for you.
Okay.
He was constantly talking about acquiring assets, things that generate income on their own. His line, money is power, really sums up that proactive, strategic view he had.
So one guy is focused on working for money for security. The other is focused on understanding money so it generates more money, more power.
Precisely.
And this leads us right into one of the biggest takeaways, I think, his definition of assets and liabilities. Because it really messes with how we usually think about this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. This is where Kiyosaki throws a real curveball at conventional thinking. The rich dad's definition was super simple, but really profound.
Okay, what was it?
An asset puts money in your pocket. A
Okay.
liability takes money out of your pocket, period.
Simple. But, okay, so the immediate thing most people think of is their house,
Yeah.
right? Your biggest asset.
Exactly. That's the common belief. But the rich dad argues pretty forcefully that for most people, their house is actually a liability.
How so?
Well, think about it purely in cash flow terms. Your mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, repairs, all that stuff constantly takes money out of your pocket.
Hmm.
He gives the example of someone buying a bigger, fancier house. It feels like progress, like you've acquired a bigger asset. But according to his definition, you've actually just increased your liabilities, your monthly outflow.
Wow, okay. That definitely clashes with the whole American dream idea of homeownership being the cornerstone of wealth.
It does. And he's not saying don't own a home necessarily, but he's forcing you to look at it purely through that cash flow lens. Is it making you money or costing you money month after month? That's the key distinction for him.
It really changes how you look at your bank statement. How did he show this visually in the book? I remember seeing some diagrams.
Yeah, he uses these really simple financial statement diagrams.
Yeah.
Basically, think of two parts. You've got your income statement, money coming in, income and money going out, expenses.
Okay.
And then you've got your balance sheet, things
Good.
you own, assets, and things you owe, liabilities.
Got it.
So he shows the educated dad's statement. Income comes in from the job, but it pretty much all goes straight out to cover expenses. There's not much, if anything, left over. And his asset column is small, while the liability column, mortgage, car loans, credit cards, is usually much bigger.
Okay, so income equals expenses, basically. Now, contrast that with the rich dad.
Right. The rich dad statement looks different. Income comes in, and it's significantly more than his expenses. So there's a surplus.
Okay, that makes sense. But what does he do with the surplus?
Ah, that's the magic trick, according to Kiyosaki. That surplus doesn't just get spent on more stuff, more liabilities. It gets put back into the asset column.
Buying more things that generate income.
Exactly. Stocks, bonds, real estate rentals, businesses, things that will then generate even more income. So income flows to assets, assets generate more income, which buys more assets.
It's a cycle.
It's a powerful, self-perpetuating cycle. That's how he explains the rich getting richer. Their assets are constantly working to bring in more money.
That makes so much sense when you lay it out like that. So where does that leave, the middle class in this picture?
Well, Kiyosaki describes the middle class as often being stuck in what he famously called the rat race.
The hamster wheel?
Pretty much. Their income goes up, maybe a raise, a better job, but what happens? Their expenses tend to go up right along with it.
Lifestyle creep.
Lifestyle creep, exactly. Nicer car, bigger house, more vacations, more debt. And crucially, they often treat their house, that big liability, as their primary asset. So income rises, but liabilities rise too. And the income generating asset column doesn't really grow much. You're working harder, earning more, maybe paying more taxes, but you're not actually getting ahead financially.
Just running faster in the same place.
Hmm.
It's a bit depressing when you think about it.
It can be, yeah.
Which brings us squarely to why financial literacy is so incredibly important. It's not just about how much you earn, is it?
Not at all. That's a huge point in the book. It's what you do with the money after you earn it that really matters. He calls it financial aptitude.
Financial aptitude. Like financial IQ.
Sort of, yeah. It's your ability to understand money, how to make it, keep it, budget it, and crucially, how to make it grow. Understanding cash flow is key, seeing how money moves in and out between that income statement and the balance sheet.
And he even made a board game, Cashy Flow, to teach this stuff, right?
He did. The game is designed to simulate these financial principles in a, safe, fun way, helps you visualize it. Kiyosaki really hammers home that understanding numbers, reading financial statements is just as vital as reading words. He uses this analogy like you can read the words in a VCR manual, but if you don't understand how the system works, you still can't program the darn thing.
Right, okay. I get that.
It's the same with money. You can see the numbers on a statement, but if you don't understand what they mean or how they connect, you can't make smart decisions.
And it's pretty wild when you think about how our schools focus so much on professional skills, getting you ready for a job,
Right, earning the income.
but almost completely ignore teaching you how to actually manage that income.
It's a massive gap, he argues. And it's why you see incredibly smart people, doctors, lawyers, whatever, who are great at their jobs but still struggle financially their whole lives. They mastered a profession, but not the language of money. He even kind of controversially suggests that huge national debts are partly because policymakers often lack this basic financial literacy themselves.
Okay, so we've got the two dads, assets versus liabilities, the need for financial literacy. Let's dig into some more specific advice from the rich dad. One that always stands out is mind your own business. What's that really about? Is he saying everyone needs to be an entrepreneur?
Not necessarily in the traditional sense of quitting your job tomorrow. When he says mind your own business, he's primarily talking about your asset column.
Ah, okay. Not your profession.
Exactly. Your profession is how you generate income, your job. Your business is your collection of assets that generate income independently. He tells that famous story about Ray Kroc and McDonald's.
Right, the hamburger guy.
Well, yeah, but Kroc apparently understood that while everyone thought he was in the hamburger business, his real business was real estate.
Owning the land under the Golden Arches.
You got it. McDonald's is supposedly one of the biggest single real estate owners in the world.
Wow, that reframes things completely.
Doesn't it? So minding your own business means actively building that asset column, putting things in there that make money for you, whether you show up to work or not. It's about building wealth beyond just your paycheck.
Thinking long-term beyond the 9 to 5. Okay. Another really fascinating, maybe even provocative idea was the rich invent money. That sounds Almost magical. What does he mean?
Yeah, it sounds a bit out there, but it's not about counterfeiting. It's about seeing opportunities and structuring deals or creating ventures that generate money where others don't see anything.
Like finding value where others miss it.
Exactly. Or creating value from scratch. He tells that story from when he was a kid, right? He and his friend Mike started a comic book library.
Right, in the basement or something.
Yeah, they took their old comic books, found an unused room, and basically created a little business lending them out to other kids for a fee. They didn't wait for someone to give them a job. They invented a way to make money work for them.
Even as kids, that's pretty entrepreneurial.
It is. And then there was that other slightly less legal venture.
Oh, the toothpaste tubes. Melting lead.
Yeah, melting down lead toothpaste tubes to try and make coins or something. Definitely not advisable.
You're kidding.
But the point wasn't the legality, it was the mindset. That drive to create income, not just earn it. And the advice they got from the store owner where they tried to offload their lead things.
What was that again?
Something like, keep working, boys, but the sooner you forget about needing a paycheck, the easier your adult life will be. It's about training your brain to find ways to make money beyond just having a job.
Okay, so it's about seeing opportunities and having the initiative. But even if you get all this, even if you're financially literate, people still hit roadblocks, right? The book talks about overcoming obstacles.
Yes, absolutely. Kiyosaki lays out 5 main reasons why people who know this stuff might still not get wealthy. The first one is huge: fear.
Fear of what? Losing money.
Exactly. The fear of losing money paralyzes people. He contrasts winners and losers. Winners might fail, but they learn from it. They're inspired by it. Losers are just defeated by failure. He uses that remember the Alamo analogy.
Right? A big loss that fueled a bigger win later.
Precisely. Turn failure into motivation.
Okay, so fear is number one. What else holds people back?
Second is cynicism. You know, that chicken little the sky is falling attitude. People who are overly cynical just dismiss opportunities out of hand, often out of fear disguised as intelligence.
That'll never work.
Right, or it's too risky. Third is laziness. And this one is tricky because it often masquerades as being too busy.
I don't have time to look into investments.
Exactly. Kiyosaki cheekily suggests the cure is a little bit of greed, not negative greed, but understanding what's in it for me. The WIIFM factor, finding that internal motivation to take action.
Finding your why, basically. Okay, what are the last two?
Fourth is bad habits, specifically bad financial habits. And here he brings up that crucial principle again. Pay yourself first.
Meaning, put money into your asset column before you pay bills.
Yes. Even if it's a small amount, even if money is tight, make it a priority. He argues this builds the discipline and paradoxically forces you to figure out how to cover the rest of your expenses, potentially motivating you to earn more.
Interesting. And the fifth?
Arrogance, which he defines as ego plus ignorance, thinking you know it all when you really don't. Being closed off to new ideas or unwilling to admit you need to learn more.
Having the humility to learn.
Exactly. Recognizing what you don't know is often the first step to wisdom, especially with money.
Okay, those are 5 pretty common stumbling blocks. Fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, arrogance. So for someone listening now who's maybe feeling inspired but also a bit overwhelmed, what are some first steps? How do you actually start doing this?
Kiyosaki gives quite a few practical suggestions. First, find a reason bigger than reality, he says. What's your deep emotional drive? Why do you really want financial freedom? It needs to be compelling enough to push you through the hard parts.
Like for your family or to travel or just control over your time?
Whatever it is for you, yeah. Second, recognize that every day, every dollar you touch is a choice. You're choosing to be rich, poor, or middle class by how you manage that dollar.
Oof, that's direct.
It is. Third, choose your friends carefully. Hang around people who talk about money, ideas, success, learn from them, but also maybe learn what not to do from friends who are struggling or always fearful about money. He literally says don't listen to poor or frightened people for financial advice.
Surround yourself with the right influences.
So forth. Commit to learning something new constantly. Take a class, go to a seminar, read books, listen to tapes or podcasts.
Like this one.
Like this one. He specifically mentions learning about real estate foreclosures as an example of a valuable skill. His point is that how fast you learn is more critical today than what you already know. Things change so quickly.
Keep sharpening the saw. Makes sense. What else?
Fifth, again, pay yourself first. Make it automatic if you can. Sixth, find good advisors, brokers, accountants, lawyers, and pay them well. Good advice can save you or make you far more than it costs.
Don't be penny wise and pound foolish with advice.
Right. And then there's that concept of being an Indian giver, which is maybe not the best term today, but the concept is about getting your initial investment back out of an asset once it's profitable. So you essentially own it risk-free.
Okay, letting your profits run while recouping your seed money.
Basically, yeah. He also talks about teaching others. When you teach, you learn twice, and it can open unexpected doors. And
Lead.
finally, maybe the most important one, just take action.
Stop analyzing and start doing.
Yes. Make offers. Look at deals. Talk to people. Even if you feel unsure, getting in the game is how you learn and build momentum.
So it really comes down to that mix: mindset, education, and consistent action.
That's the core of it, I think.
All right, well, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big takeaway message you hope people get from exploring Rich Dad, Poor Dad with us today?
I think the main thing is that your financial destiny isn't solely dictated by your income level. It's really about your financial literacy, understanding assets and liabilities, and deliberately cultivating that wealth-building mindset by focusing on acquiring income-generating assets over time. Hopefully this discussion has given you a good shortcut to understanding those key ideas.
Absolutely. And maybe for you listening, take a moment to think. Which of these Rich Dad ideas really hit home for you? What's one small thing, just one step you could take this week to start applying it? Maybe it's tracking expenses, maybe it's reading an article about investing, maybe it's just having a different kind of money conversation.
Yeah, just start somewhere. Remember, it's a journey, not an overnight fix. Keep learning, keep questioning, keep looking for those opportunities.
For sure. And, maybe we'll revisit some of these ideas or related topics in future deep dives. But for now, we really hope this has given you some valuable perspective and maybe a bit of motivation to take charge of your financial path.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.